Okay, so sort of the words of Monty Python, now for something totally different, sort of. I was joking with Dom earlier today that sort of my point of view and sort of my use of the transient system is sort of piggybacking on the work that Henry does and Dom does in terms of putting these conditions and systems together, because for me, I'm really interested in sort of my applications of finding something that works well and that I'm not dealing with a lot of optimization. So I sort of likened myself to a remora fish earlier today, which probably is not a great analogy to a lot of the stuff that these guys are doing. So there's three main points that I'd sort of like to discuss in the remaining time, or in the next few minutes here is, so what is your goal or objective for transient protein expression? And this seems like a very basic question, but I think it's a very important question because just even with some brief conversations with people in the room, we're all sort of coming at this from a little different point of view. And it will really dictate sort of the scale that you're using, the cost, the amount of resources, both financially and human, that are required for you to meet your goals. What equipment and space is required? And many of you who have been in science for a long time realizes the buzzword here is adaptability, right? I don't know if many of you have unlimited resources. If you do, I'd like to talk to you after the session to know how you do that. But it really requires, I think, a lot of some adaptability in here to fit your system. So doing that is important. And then I'd like to thirdly talk about something recently that happened to us in our group. We certainly had been using transient systems, but we sort of did a reevaluation and a re-implementation of transient systems to better fit what we were trying to accomplish. So why transient? I think probably at this point in the evening it's a bit redundant to sort of pose that question, but as Henry and Dom have both said, when we're talking about stable expression, we're looking at a multiple weeks or months process to get to this point of protein production. With the scalable stuff, scalable transient expression, we're really looking at a 5 to 7, maybe 10-day sort of window where you can be handing off protein for a number of different applications and really becoming a very favored colleague in your group. And so when we sort of talk about what do we use transients for, this is certainly not a comprehensive list by any stretch of the imagination, but you can see a lot of things: functional studies, structural studies, clonal selection and expression analysis, one of my favorites, reagent production, therapeutic candidates, in vivo proofs of concept, and pathway analysis. And like I said, this is not an all-encompassing sort of list, and we were sort of talking at our table at dinner about some of these and what we need to do to accomplish it. And sort of in sync with that is, all of those require sort of different amounts. So you can run the whole gambit from really requiring for, some very simple protein characterization here to microgram or even sub-microgram amounts of protein to all the way down to really needing, high milligrams or grams.